Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Berys as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Shelley Davidescu. Shelley started Clean Forks in 2013 from the ground up and replaced her 9-to-5 income with full-time entrepreneurship in 2015. All while paying off over $25,000 of debt. She has used her experience in business and a passion for psychology to grow her business to 4- and 5-figure months. Shelley teaches health and wellness coaches to take inspired action and share their story in a way that leads to helping more clients and makes a more positive impact today. She's been featured in some of the biggest online publications such as the Huffington Post, Mind Body Green, Fit Life TV, Raspberry Magazine, and Elite Daily. Shelley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Flavia. I'm really excited to chat today.
Me too. And you know what's funny is I get to interview people from all over the world because that's the beauty of the internet today. But we both happen to be locals here in San Diego.
I know. That was a really fun surprise.
I know. We're California girls. And the funny thing is when we made the appointment to do this interview, it didn't really occur to me that you were local. That's the beauty of how flat the world is. We know each other through a Facebook group for entrepreneurs that we're both members of, and that's how we connected. But other than knowing you were part of that group, I didn't even look to see where your hometown was. I looked at your website and I got to know you that way. And I think what you're doing is great, which is why I'm so excited to bring you onto the show to share your mission and to help teach others how you've managed to find balance in your life. But then when we were chatting, it's like, wait a minute, we're both San Diegans. I mean, what a small world.
Yeah. And then what's funny is that when you emailed me, we were, trying to figure out a time. I always now make sure to put like what time zone I'm in because sometimes, we get mixed up. So
Totally.
I'm like, yes, Pacific Standard Time.
Yes, Pacific Standard Time. So welcome to the show, a fellow Cali, SoCal girl, and super excited. You have a very interesting business. So what I like about what you do is that you're trained as a psychotherapist, right?
Yep.
And most people trained as a psychotherapist, they end up, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I took Psychology 101 in college, and that's like as far as I went with professional training in psychology. But a psychotherapist, you're usually one-on-one in a room with one client probably, right? Or maybe a couple.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. So the model is typically, either one person or a couple or sometimes families. What I primarily did was couples and individuals.
And how many years did you spend working as a traditional psychotherapist where people would make an appointment, they'd come in to see you, you'd talk to them, and that was your career?
Ooh, basically from, let's see, how many years? I think about 5 or 6 total. Yeah.
But you don't do that now?
No, I don't.
So how has your business changed?
In a lot of different ways. I was actually chatting with a client about that today. So what I do is I help health and wellness coaches share their powerful story, spread their message, and change the world one person at a time. My business has shifted a lot because from being a psychotherapist. So psychotherapists are trained to be behind the scenes. When somebody goes to see a psychotherapist, the session is about the client. It's not about the therapist. So my business model has changed, dramatically because I now get to share my story so that other people can benefit from it. And that's one of the biggest pieces that I felt was missing from the psychotherapy world is that therapists don't really get to share, obviously, what they have overcome or part of their story or their message. It's a completely different model. But I feel like the transformation really happens in relationships. And what I learn about you can truly impact me and the decisions that I make, after our conversation. So that's one of the biggest things that I teach my health coaches is to truly share with their tribe and with their audience their own transformation, their own story. And I teach them to do that with courage because it's really scary. It can be really scary to put yourself out there and to share, what you've been through. Maybe you've hit rock bottom, mistakes you've made, and how you've been able to overcome and persevere into, sometimes like having better health, having better relationships, having more vitality, whatever it is. There's always, a new level that you've gotten to as a result of being in that tough place.
I love that description of what you do for your clients, and your clients are coaches themselves. So, you coach them and then they coach others. And so in that way, your coaching touches really probably a lot greater number of people than your actual client list, right? Because they each have clients. It's like a pyramid that goes on forever, right?
Mm-hmm. And that was my vision. That was truly my vision for this iteration of Clean Forks, was to make an even bigger impact by by empowering health coaches to uniquely voice their message and uniquely share what they have been through in a way that is very mindfully done. It's not about just just sharing every single detail. When we tell our story and when we share a unique message, we can do so in a way that is really structured to help the people that we're really meant to help.
Right. And your coaches, when you say health coaches, what areas of health coaching, makes up the primary bulk of your client list?
I have all different types of health coaches, and that's what's really, really cool about this platform is I have health coaches that focus on skin wellness. I have a coach that is a spiritual transformational coach, where she focuses more on the spiritual element of things. I have another coach who focuses on glucose and sugar. So they're all different types. And that's why it's even more important to tap into their own unique story, because that's how they actually distinguish themselves from each other. One of the things that I hear a lot is, especially when coaches are starting out, is like, well, there's so many health coaches out there. How do I even distinguish myself? Well, it starts with sharing what you're about. You're totally unique from everybody else. And not only have you had a completely different, life than somebody else, but the way that you look at the world is totally different from the next health coach.
I love that. It's so interesting to me because when I heard health coach, I immediately kind of thought, oh, nutritionists. I was picturing green smoothies, and it's so neat to hear you talk about the wide variety because it's so true. It's hard. I'm not personally specifically a health coach. So for me, I had one image in my mind, but then you're broadening my horizons. You're telling me, well, look at all these different ways that someone can coach. Because I think people also, they have a lot to offer. Someone like your skin coach, the person who coaches on just skin related issues, she's probably a coach who could coach on lots of different things. She probably is an expert in lots of areas, but she's decided to niche down and to just focus these services on just the area of skin health, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat that you get to help people navigate through that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And what's really cool is that I get to help women look at their own uniqueness, and not just within their own experience, but within their own talent. And that's, I feel like, what truly creates resonance when a health coach goes out there and decides to focus on the fact that they're like a transformational lifestyle coach versus just a health coach. they get to share part of their story and why they deeply believe in transformation and the specific thing that they focus on. That's what creates resonance with their tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's when my health coaches really get to work with their dream clients.
Right. And as far as challenges, so you help them bring out their best qualities, their strengths, but I'm sure you also help them cope with, deal with, and overcome challenges. And I'm kind of picturing like a pie chart, of your clients kind of as a whole. If you think about all of their issues and different ways that you can help them, and if there's a pie chart of like the different areas where a health coach needs help, I'm curious, like what makes up those slices? I mean, is there like helping them communicate better, helping them deal with overwhelm, or helping them with mindset or courage or vulnerability, or, all these different things that people come in? You're looking at it through a business coach who has a psychotherapy background. So I'm really curious how you view that and like which slice of that pie turns out to be the biggest slice.
Yeah. What's cool about it is we're all humans, and there's only so many permutations, which is really cool because we all have fears, we all have doubts about ourselves, right? So what ends up happening is that the theme of fear and courage comes up a ton. Some of the main challenges that continue to come up is that they're scared to share their vulnerable parts of themselves. They're just like everybody. And by the way, of course, like this was me too a number of years ago. Coming from a world of psychotherapy, you don't come out into the internet and talk about yourself. That's like a little bit frowned upon, actually.
Right.
So I had to overcome the fear of A, doing something that was frowned upon, and B, like wondering how people were going to receive it, if they were going to receive it at all. So I work with them a lot with the fear around being vulnerable and actually truly being at peace and owning their own story before they share it. That's really where it comes from. You have to be 100% in ownership of your own story and be okay with where you've been and where you're going in order to put it out into the world. And of course, we keep this, so the focus is really for the good and the purpose of bettering somebody else's life. It's not just to come out and share just to share, but we always return to this foundational principle of being here to serve, being here of service, so that whatever I've experienced can serve you in your journey.
That's fantastic. And I can only imagine how your clients feel to have you helping them through all of that so that they can shine and they can help, their clients. And I just love how there's that ripple effect with what you're doing. That's probably one of the most rewarding parts for you of your job.
It totally is. I've heard this said several times, but a lot of them feel liberated because that's one of the biggest things that holds them back from actually moving forward in their businesses. They're not owning part of their story, and essentially that's keeping them trapped. So it doesn't matter at what level, if they're, maybe starting their business, or maybe they've been in their business for a number of years and already getting clients. The coaches that come to me are the coaches that really need to hone in on their message and be able to get it out in a more clear way, in a more concise way, and in a way that's really aligned with who they are and what they do.
Well, liberation and freedom, I mean, that's a huge theme on this show. Lifestyle Solopreneur is all about liberation and freedom, although the show tends to focus not just on, the things you help with, but also finding balance and kind of creating a lifestyle where your work hasn't taken over your life, where you're not, a miserable millionaire with who's trapped, who feels trapped, because a lot of entrepreneurs end up feeling trapped. I mean, it is what it is. You can be your own boss, but sometimes you end up a tyrannical boss. You're like, I'm a tyrant. I was supposed to, when I thought being my own boss meant I could be nice to me, but a lot of entrepreneurs end up trapping themselves. Have you successfully avoided that because you sound like you are really out there. You have a lot going on. I'm sure the
Hmm.
demands on your time are huge. How do you keep it all balanced?
Yeah. Um, definitely will be open about this. It didn't start out being balanced. I was that tyrannical boss for a while. I was very hard on myself. I had some crazy, crazy expectations and schedules of myself early on, which didn't totally serve me. So I have definitely turned a new leaf. And of course, I've been able, I mean, it's no surprise that when you actually take a step back and you reevaluate and you really focus on the things that matter, you do less, but you do better. And I was actually just making a video for my tribe about this earlier today, but the beginning of 2001 was when I said, okay, I'm definitely going to be kinder and nicer to myself this year. I'm not going to beat myself up. And I did just focus on a few things and did do a lot better and got more done because I was more focused and set strong intentions for lifestyle. Because that's one of the things when I was at my agency job, working a 9 to 5 job, I was constantly thinking, oh, I wish I could just like go to yoga in the middle of the day, or I wish I could just like take a break and take my puppy out for a walk. And these are all these constant wishes that I had. And then, of course, once I became my own boss, I realized I had the power to do these things now. And so that's one of the things that I've truly stuck with is making sure that I take care of myself and feed my soul in the things that make me happy.
And what are some ways that you keep yourself on task to do that? I mean, do you have techniques or any tips you can pass on? Because I think that struggle is just something that is really, really common. I've seen it. I've seen it all
Hmm.
over the place, and a lot of different people overcome it in different ways. And so we're always on the hunt to learn from each other and just to learn even, more or different techniques that can help keep
Yeah.
balance in your life.
Well, the thing that I always share with my tribe is that your tomorrow starts today. So, and that also goes for, your next month starts this month. So, there is this freedom within entrepreneurship that says, well, you can do whatever you want whenever you want, and you can get up whenever you want. And of course, that's awesome. Um, as long as you have planned ahead and structured your schedule in a way that gives you that freedom. I feel like when we do have a good amount of structure, and it's different for everybody, but when you do have a good amount of structure, it's that structure that keeps you safe, that gives you the freedom to go and do whatever you want whenever you've decided. So that's one of the things that I live and breathe by is that I do have enough structure within my work day and within my work week to where I do have the freedom to say, it's 1 o'clock and this is the time that I was going to take a break anyway. I'm going to go hit a yoga class, or I'm just going to go, walk my pup and relax, or, I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes because I do have that structure already laid out.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah.
So do you think it's easier to give yourself permission to pursue those things, relaxation, meditation, hobbies, time with your loved ones, your pup? What's your
Yeah,
puppy's name?
it's Elphaba.
Elphaba?
Yeah.
That's a great name. And probably not a puppy anymore. If
Yeah, she's a year and a half now.
Aw. Um, so I mean, giving yourself that freedom, it sounds like keeping yourself structured other times of the day is what allows you to then say, hey, I put in my time or my tasks, you check those boxes and then you just feel free.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing too is that, of course, like all entrepreneurs always are going to have a long list of endless to-dos. One of the things that I actually like to remind myself of is, what can I do today that's going to have the biggest impact? I love to like just remind myself of that, especially when I do have a lot of things to do. Because I mean, it's not like I constantly keep a short to do list. I just like every other entrepreneur, I have a lot of dreams, a lot of goals, a lot of aspirations, and a lot that I want to do. And I have the same 24 hours that everybody else does. but it's really important to just remember, like, okay, what is the thing that I can do today that can have the biggest impact? If I were to only do one or two things, what would they be?
Right.
And so I get those done earlier in the day.
That's a great
And
way to prioritize. Go on.
yeah, and that, I mean, one of the things that I was like seriously notorious of, and I'm going to totally out myself, is I would have, when I first started my business, I would have these massive long to-do lists that were like ridiculous because I would never get through all of them, right? And so like the next day would come and I would just be like, continuing on with my to-do list. And it felt so frustrating to just never really get through a to-do list. So funny. Nowadays, I look at my to-do list, and it's funny because my husband laughs, and I'm like, aren't you proud of me? I got my 3 things off my list, like check them off finally.
Yeah.
Because I've learned that, you've got to just be realistic and live your life alongside of, building your business or running your business. I think that's so important.
Yeah, totally. And, in what I do, I also teach how to prioritize and because a to-do list or a task list, any sort of planning, there's an art to it. And a lot of people feel bad because they're like, oh, I'm just like a type B. I'm disorganized. I'm late to everything. I always forget stuff. I can't get stuff done. I'm just not a good list maker. And it's like, don't beat yourself up. It's an acquired skill. I mean, it's something you get better at with practice, but it takes practice like anything else, like getting better at cooking or getting better at swimming or, all of that. So yeah, I'm right with you there. I think it takes trial and error, and I think every person needs to find their own task management system that works for them the best, whether it's with an app or just, written lists or whatever, using some of these new apps like Asana and different.
Oh, I love Asana.
Asana is asana.com. Yeah, it's a great one, and a lot of people love it. Some people like the visual boards on Trello, 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 because it's a way to kind of make it look like a bulletin board, usually with note cards on it. So for a lot of people, that works. I mean, it's just, there's no right way to do it, and everyone just needs to experiment, but actually take the time to experiment. Actually go out there, see how you can improve. Whether it's taking you took a list that used to be what I now call my global list. Like I have actually several global lists in different areas, usually like one per project. But those are the global lists, and those are not to do today or to do this week or to do this month. I just pull over tasks individually from the global list to my immediate lists, what I'm actually going to do today or this week. And that's how I kind of did what you did, just finding a way to take big goals and make them manageable and actionable. But
that's
again,
a great strategy.
Yeah, but again, that strategy is what I use. It's not necessarily what's going to work for someone else. So that's why I love hearing about everyone's techniques. Do you have any apps other than, you like Asana, you know that one. Any other either apps or tools or just tips that you can pass on?
As far as apps, I would say Asana is the one that I use the most to stay organized and manage my team. I'm trying to think. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not huge with technology. Like I don't have like a ton of gadgets, but I love like voice memos. I love sometimes when I blog, I do speak it into a voice memo. I feel like that for a lot of health coaches that are kinesthetic, that like to be moving, they don't like to sit for long periods of time, or anybody who doesn't like to sit for long periods of time. You can just speak your blog post or Facebook post or whatever email that you want into, your phone and just edit from there. It just makes it so much quicker.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
That sounds like a great hack.
Yeah.
So I always like to hear from successful solopreneurs like yourself. What is something that you can share that you believe really helped drive your business up and forward, either financially or in terms of how many people you reach? I'm sure there's lots of different things, but what's something that comes to mind as like one critical thing that you did that you're so glad you did and that other people can learn from as they, grow their own businesses?
Just one thing, huh? That's tough.
Well,
But
I'll give you two. I'll give you
okay.
two. And if they're not very long, I'll give you three.
I think I could do it in two. I feel like one of the biggest things that helped to make my business more successful was to niche down and focus on the biggest impact that I wanted to have. I started to ask myself, okay, what's if I were to just say one thing, if I were to focus on like one type of person, really staying clear of the noise and of the 100 things that I could be doing or should be doing. Um, and I reconnect with that often. I don't want to just like make it seem like, it's a one and done thing. Once I realize, okay, what's the one thing that I want to do and what's the one type of impact that I want to make, I feel like that's what really helped my business kind of like blow up because I was really reaching the people who I was meant to reach. My message became more clear. It was easier for me to speak about my own experiences. So everything that I teach my coaches, that's truly where things shifted for me because it's about keeping it simple. Right now with social media, there's so much noise going on with obviously like everything, and it's great. We have so much available to us with obviously live streaming and Periscope and podcasts and you name it, YouTube, everything, which is awesome. So your message needs to be kept simple. And as soon as I did that, I feel like my business just blew up.
That's great advice. That's a great story. And what was the second thing?
So what was the second thing? Just to have patience. I feel like in a time where like everything is instant, and myself included, right? Like when I don't have an instant result, I'm like, what's wrong with it? What's going on? What's wrong with it? And
My Facebook ad got 2 clicks, and it's been a full 5 minutes.
I know. Why isn't this hitting $1 million yet? It's like I would say be patient. What I really, really like to share with my health coaches is look, if you're in it to win it, but you're in it for the long run, then be patient because that's what, it's like a baby, You can't expect your baby to run at like 3 weeks, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you start your business, and I know your audience is, entrepreneurs who, a lot of them are just starting. When you are just starting a business, it's like your baby, and your baby is going to thrive if you encourage it, if you love it, if you feed it, if you
don't give up on it.
if you don't give up on it, if you have fun with it, everything that you teach too
Mm-hmm.
is to have that sense of balance and to have fun and to make sure that you pay attention to other parts of your life. And so I feel like once I was able to do that and integrated who I truly was with all of those elements, I feel like that was incredibly helpful too.
That's great advice. One
Yeah.
last piece of advice I want you to give to listeners is because you're a coach that works with coaches, so you actually get to sort of be behind the scenes and see what coaches go through in their own practices and just growing their businesses. What is one of the most typical mistakes that you see coaches making?
Well, I would say not sharing their story enough.
Like their personal story?
Yeah, not sharing their own personal story. And there is a difference, I will say. And again, I mean, this comes up all the time. There is a difference. There's a difference between gossip and truly sharing your story from a place of service. And I think that that's one of the biggest distinctions that I help coaches make. Because and isn't just for health coaches. Anybody that is truly here to serve people, you're here to connect as well. People do business with you because you're a real human being, you're a person. And the more that you share your humanity, the more that you share your humanness, your emotions, your perspective, your position on certain topics, the more people are going to trust you. And I feel like in a world where everything is instant and, yes, we have the ability to be on social media and everywhere, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's making an impact. It doesn't necessarily mean that that you are being clear with people. So I feel like one of the biggest mistakes is not sharing enough of who you are for the purpose of service, not for the purpose of, hey, I ate, this today, and 5 minutes later, hey, I'm eating dessert. Not like that kind of sharing, but from a place of true service, because that's how I feel like we're human beings. That's how we learn best, is through storytelling, through watching others persevere, through watching others maybe struggle and overcome challenges. And those stories are incredibly inspiring.
Right, right. That's so true. And I see that as well. So I think that is a common mistake, is where people who are looking to start a business, they're entrepreneurs, but they want to come off looking already super successful and like they've, been successful from day one, never done anything wrong, like and you have to be vulnerable, because the people that you're talking to, who are your potential clients, they're people.
Yeah.
And when they look for a coach or somebody to even partner with, I mean, a lot of people are looking for joint venture partners. You have to be a person, because you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
So, yep, I see that too. So let's shift gears for a second and let's talk about what you're working on now as far as different offerings and ways that coaches can work with you.
Yeah. So right now, one of the most exciting ways to be able to work with me is through my Magnetic Duo program, which is a 6-week one-on-one program where we talk all about your magnetic message and focus on what kind of packages you're going to put out into the world as a health coach. So Magnetic Duo is 6 weeks. It's one-on-one. And we get down to the nitty-gritty of messaging, of storytelling, and making sure that you're hitting the 6 different types of stories that you need to be telling to have a clear message and captivate your audience.
I love that. I love the name Magnetic Duo. I mean, it just makes me think, as an entrepreneur, what you want is to attract, like a magnet, to attract
exactly.
customers and attract interest. And so I think that's a great name for your program, Magnetic Duo. And where is the website where people can go to learn more about you and your programs?
Sure. So it's www.cleanforks.com. And then also, I have a really amazing community on Facebook called Health Coaches Make Bank Mastermind, where it's a free community. It's all health and wellness coaches. And there's just a ton of support. I pop in the group quite often to provide feedback or support or answer questions. But it's all health and wellness coaches. And it's just a really nice community.
Oh, I love it, and love the name too. So Health Coaches Make Bank. Do I have that right?
Health Coaches Make Bank Mastermind.
Great. And then you are at www.cleanforks.com. I really hope that listeners reach out to you and connect with you, both through your Facebook group, also through your website, especially if they're in the health field, because that is your niche and that is the one that you know inside out, and you're really building a community around it. And I just think that's great. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Flavia.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit LIFESTYLESOLOPRENEUR.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.